Hi, it's V. Before we begin tonight's episode, let's take a minute to address mental health. Do the challenges of the day weigh on you at night? This is where BetterHelp Online Counseling comes in. Connect with your professional counselor in a safe and private online environment. Get help right from your bed, or when you just wish you could crawl back into bed. Snoozecast listeners get 10% off your first month with discount code Snoozecast. And if you sign up through our link, you're also helping support the work that goes into making our show. So why not get started tonight? Press pause or make a reminder to check it out tomorrow. Go to betterhelp.com/snoozecast. Simply fill out a questionnaire to help them assess your needs and get matched with a counselor you'll love. That's betterhelp.com/snoozecast. Now, on to the show. Snoozecast, the podcast designed to help you fall asleep. We'd like to thank our listeners. If you enjoy our show, please write us a review on the podcast app. Also, share us with a friend. Find us on snoozecast.com and follow us on social media and wherever you listen to podcasts. This episode is brought to you by our Patreon supporters and by hobby enthusiasts everywhere. Tonight, we'll read excerpts from Candy Making Revolutionized, Confectionery from Vegetables by Mary Elizabeth Hall, printed in 1912. Hall wrote that her hope was that through this book, the more vegetable candy is made, the less unhealthful confectionery there will be consumed. Let's get cozy. Close your eyes. Relax your body into the softness of your bed. Now, take a few deep breaths. Introduction. When Mary Elizabeth Hall first brought her discovery to my attention, I thought that it was indeed one that would revolutionize candy making, both that of the amateur at home and of the manufacturer. And, in the months that have followed, to this belief has been added to the conviction that this revolution is one very much worthwhile. Why so simple and obvious a discovery was not made long ago is a mystery to me. Perhaps its very simplicity and obviousness is proof of its importance. Of cookery, candy making is a branch which is entitled to more dignity than it ordinarily receives. Negatively and positively, the importance of sweets to the child can never be overestimated. If he consumes a quantity of impure confectionery, his digestion will be ruined for life. How much of the confectionery bought is rankly impure, it is well for the mother's peace of mind that she does not know. On the other hand, if the child is not given sweets, he is deprived of a food element of the greatest value to his development. And for the adult, the value of pure candy is too obvious to warrant comment. Vegetable candy, to my mind, is ideal confectionery. Of its purity, there can be no doubt. Moreover, it furnishes the valuable element of sugar so combined with nutritious vegetable bases that, because of the bulk, there is no temptation to overeat. This quality of the new confection would seem insurance against its evil effects of gluttony. Before an undue amount of sugar is consumed, the very mass of the vegetable base has satisfied the appetite. Many sorts of vegetable candy have unusual keeping qualities. Indeed, some kinds will retain their flavor and moisture for as long as a year. It is significant to note that almost all non-vegetable confections that can be successfully stored for any length of time contain artificial preservatives. Vegetable candy, however, keeps, not because of the addition of alcohol or even benzoate of soda, but because of the excellence of the processes themselves. Notwithstanding its advantages, vegetable candy is no harder to make than is any other good candy. For success in any sort of cookery, much hard work is necessary. Slipshod methods and intuition cannot produce food that is up to standard. Of even greater force is this rule when applied to the most delicate brand of cookery, the making of confectionery. Miss Hall has supplemented her major discovery by several other valuable discoveries, or adaptations, as she modestly styles them. Her use of crystallization, for instance, enables the amateur confectioner to secure results which were previously out of her reach. Aside from its virtues, from the hygienic, dietetic, and practical points of view, the new confectionery has much to commend it. By utilizing the common and cheap vegetables of the home garden, it gives to the girls and women of the farm and in the village an opportunity that previously was not theirs. This discovery means that they can now make the finer sorts of candy, the fashioning of which was formerly out of the question to women who did not have at their command the resources of the specialty stores of the large city, and plenty of money to spend in them. This enlargement of the culinary horizon of these countless women is not without broad significance. The removal of their limitations, petty and otherwise, if you will, is necessary before we shall cease to tremble, because they who belong on the farm and in the village refuse to stay there. Once banish the discontent of the farm woman, and there is no rural problem of consequence. And vegetable candy making is not without sociological importance, because it is a step, though perhaps a very short one comparatively, in that direction. More definite, however, is another field for speculation in connection with vegetable candy. It offers to the housewife, house daughter, and to the teacher a new modeling medium. That from a cheap and easily made base, attractive objects may be made, and then eaten, surely is a recommendation of no slight moment. Miss Hall's discovery has placed within easy reach of persons of moderate means and skill a medium through which really beautiful objects can be made in candy. For the first time, the amateur candy maker can prove for herself that candy making is not only an art, but that it is one of the fine arts. By Warren Dunham Foster. Potato caramel, number 1. Stir well 1 pound of sugar, 1 cupful of milk, 1 cupful of Irish potato, boiled and sifted as directed before, 2 tablespoons of butter, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Boil until thick, and thin with 1/2 cupful of milk, and again cook until thick. Again, thin with 1/2 cupful of milk, and cook until the mass is of caramel consistency, tested in cold water. Stir as little as possible, but be careful that the mass does not stick to the bottom of the kettle. Pour on a well-oiled marble between candy bars. Dry 2 days. Cut in strips and dry again before finally cutting in squares. Place them in a cold place for several hours and then wrap them in parchment paper. They keep well. This is the kind of potato caramel that is especially good for chocolate coating, although all of the potato caramels can be chocolate coated. Make the caramels as above and allow them to dry in the open air for several hours, and then cover with chocolate. The process is fully as laborious as it sounds, but the results are more than worth the trouble. The repeated cookings give the characteristic caramel taste and color. The following recipe, however, means less work. Sweet potato. Sweet potatoes used as the basis for candy making should be baked. Boiled sweet potato changes color during the succeeding processes and retains an amount of water that is likely to cause trouble. After baking, the potato should be forced through a fine sieve. Make sure that the sifting process is done so thoroughly that all fiber is removed. Sweet potato patties. For the patties, boil until very thick 1 pound of granulated sugar, 1 cupful of sweet potato prepared as above, 1/2 cupful of desiccated coconut, and 1/2 cupful of water. When the mixture has cooked, add 1/2 cupful of bonbon cream, cut into small pieces. Stir thoroughly. As the mass begins to set, drop it quickly on wax paper in small drops. Act promptly, for the mass sets quickly. The drops will not be smooth. To improve the look of the patties, they may be dipped in a crystal syrup, cooked to 220 degrees, and then dusted with granulated sugar. If they are not wanted immediately, they may be packed for any length of time not exceeding 6 weeks, provided they have been finished with the crystal and granulated sugar. Parsnip. Crystallization forms the basis of candy making with parsnips. By means of a modification of the old-fashioned French hand method, it's possible to make a confection that is good in itself, useful as the basis for other confections, and of unusually long-keeping qualities. Parsnip candy, though the invention of today, has a pleasing old-fashioned taste and appearance. Candied parsnips. In method of preparation and keeping qualities, they resemble the candied flag root of our grandmothers. They are useful to trim a box of candy. Peel the parsnips and leave them in cold water for 2 or 3 hours. Cut crosswise into very thin slices. Drop the slices into boiling water and let them boil 5 minutes. After they have thoroughly drained, put them into a syrup made by boiling together 1 part of water and 3 parts of granulated sugar. Make sure that the syrup really is a syrup, that the sugar and water have thoroughly united. Add the parsnips and boil for 10 minutes. Next comes the use of a novel modification of hand crystallization, a process that the amateur candy maker may well afford to make herself master of, because it's useful for many confections. Obtain a pan with sloping sides into which the drying rack will drop halfway. As the pan must be used for candy making and nothing else, and as the greatest strength is not necessary, a suitable dish can probably be obtained from a 10-cent store. Stir carefully with a wooden paddle in order to make sure that all the pieces are separated and that the hot syrup comes into contact with all the surfaces of the confections. Pour the hot mass over the rack, in position in the pan, and immediately put a board over the pan. Make sure that the vegetable is evenly distributed. The wood absorbs the moisture, while a tin cover would make trouble by causing the steam to condense and drop back onto the candy. Leave the pan undisturbed for 24 hours. Then lift the rack out, pour the syrup into the kettle, and cook to 225 degrees. Return the vegetable to the syrup and stir carefully. Each piece must be immersed. The small pieces of candy will be heated through in so very short a time that it is necessary only to make sure that each piece has been thoroughly immersed in the hot syrup. Make sure that the rack is clean and free from particles of the syrup. Thereupon, again pour it over the rack, arranged in the pan as before. Repeat the process 4 times, each time cooking the syrup 2 degrees hotter. The result is a slow crystallization which covers the candy so that it is perfectly preserved and very good to taste and look upon. Although the work must be distributed over 6 days, only a very few minutes are required, except upon the first day. Carrot. To the art of candy making, the use of carrots has brought a harmless new color. Formerly, the peculiar yellowish orange of the carrot candy was a shade that the confectioner, amateur or otherwise, could not hope to attain without the use of artificial substances. The statement that carrots are valuable in candy making for their color must not be thought to mean that the confections made from them are not very good to eat. Quite the contrary, carrot candies have a very pleasing flavor. Carrot rings. To make them, peel medium-sized carrots and let them stand several hours in cold water. Cut crosswise into slices about 1/4 of an inch thick, and with a small round cutter or sharp knife remove the center pith. Drop the rings into boiling water and cook until tender. After they have thoroughly drained, drop them into a syrup made by boiling 1 part of water and 3 parts of sugar to 220 degrees. Boil until the rings become translucent, probably about 10 minutes. Dry on a wire rack, taking care that the rings do not touch. The next day, heat the syrup to 225 degrees and again dip the rings and dry as before. If desired, when they are dry, fill the centers with bonbon cream or marzipan. When this center has become firm, dip the candy into a syrup cooked to 228 degrees. Even if the centers are not filled, it is well to make this third dipping. The thermometer should, however, register 230 degrees instead of merely 228. Bean taffy. Bean taffy easily takes the first rank among all taffies, vegetable or otherwise. The taste is good beyond words, and the consistency is pleasingly chewy without being tenacious to the point of teeth pulling. Lima beans are the best to use as the basis because the skins can easily be removed, but ordinary dried beans may be substituted if care is taken. Cover the beans with cold water, let them stand overnight, and the next morning boil them until soft, and force through a fine sieve to remove all the skins. Boil together 2 cups full of granulated sugar, 1/2 cupful of water, a tablespoonful of butter, and 1/2 cupful of the beans prepared as above. After the mixture has boiled thoroughly, add 1 cupful of milk. Add the cupful of milk 1/3 at a time. Stir the mixture and let it boil a few minutes after each addition of milk. When the thermometer registers 242 degrees, pour the mass onto an oiled marble between oiled candy bars so that it will set about 1/4 inch thick. As with ordinary taffy, cut into pieces of the desired size. Beet. To the candy cook, the discovery that beets make good confectionery brings a new flavor and a new color, one as desirable as the other, and that is saying a great deal. In candy made from beets, there are several new shades of red which previously could not be obtained even by the use of artificial coloring matter. In case the beet color is desired for candies made upon other bases, it can be had very easily. The beets should be boiled until the water is colored red. Then this water may be substituted for the water called for by other recipes in vegetable candy making. The beet color will be given, but the beet flavor will not be. The result is a pleasing color without the use of anything that is artificial. Beet puffs. Cut 1 medium-sized beet into thin slices. Cover with 1/2 cupful of cold water and cook in a double boiler until soft. Drain, and to the liquid thus obtained add 1 pound of sugar. Boil 2 or 3 minutes. To this mixture, add 1/2 cupful of the cooked beet cut into fine pieces. Cook this mass to 240 degrees. Have ready the whites of 2 eggs, salted and beaten to a stiff froth. Remove from the fire, and after the steam has ceased to rise, beat the mixture into the whites of the 2 eggs. Using a pecan meat to push with, drop this mixture from a teaspoon in small puffs on wax paper, leaving the pecan embedded. This mixture is very foamy and adhesive, sets very quickly, and must be handled rapidly. These directions will yield about 5 dozen puffs. A few drops of rose water may be added if a more delicate flavor is desired. Tomato. Tomato marshmallow. Very often marshmallows, even the sort sold in candy stores of the better class, contain gums and glucose which the amateur would find difficult to handle even if she felt no scruple in their use. Tomato marshmallows, however, are pleasing in consistency and more attractive in flavor than the old-fashioned kind. Moreover, they are easy to make, although it is necessary to give more detailed directions than would be required in the description of the process with which the home candy maker is more familiar. Dissolve 3 tablespoonsful of granulated gelatine in 1 cupful of hot water. Cook and strain ripe tomatoes. To 1/2 cupful of the strained tomato, add 1 cupful of sugar and cook the mixture to 230 degrees. Have ready in a deep saucepan 3 cups full of sugar, moistened with 1/4 of a cupful of water. Upon it, strain the tomato syrup, stir well, thin with a cupful of water, and cook to 240 degrees. Set the mass off the fire. Add the gelatine water previously prepared. Mix thoroughly and strain into a fresh bowl. Have ready the whites of 2 eggs beaten to a stiff froth. With a French egg whip or a common wooden paddle, beat the cooked mass hard until it is white and does not separate. When it becomes foamy and spongy, gradually add the beaten egg whites and keep beating until the whole mass is very stringy and will almost set on the paddle. Sift upon the mass 1 tablespoonful of cornstarch. Stir well. Pour the candy between candy bars on a marble well dusted with sugar. Leave 10 or 12 hours. Cut into squares. Roll well in the sugar. Spread the other side up and dry off. Instead of pouring marshmallows between candy bars, they may be molded in cornstarch. Store in a tight box. The recipe sounds more laborious than is the process. The repeated boilings are necessary to perfect the product. The acid of the tomato destroys the granularity of the sugar. Straining the mixture eliminates the particles of tomato which, not having blended thoroughly into the syrup, would cause trouble by sticking to the bottom of the saucepan in the later high cooking. Onion cold tablets. By supplying a more wholesome sort of confectionery, vegetable candy, at least in the eyes of its friends, has decreased the need of household remedies for indigestion and similar ailments. On the other hand, the newly discovered candy making brings a definite contribution to the family medicine chest. From onion can be made tablets that have the virtues assigned to our foremothers' cough syrups, and even are good to eat, according to those who like the flavor of onion. Onion cold tablets, then, are offered both as a confectionery and as a household remedy. It should be borne in mind, however, that no household remedy, however good or tried, takes the place of a physician. The family health is too precious a commodity to be entrusted to unprofessional hands. To make the tablets, cut into thin slices 2 ounces of raw onion, about half of a good-sized onion. Work the onion into 2 cups full of sugar and let the mixture stand for 2 hours. Add 2/3 of a cupful of water. Place the mass on the fire and let it come just to a boil. Strain the syrup so made into a granite saucepan and add 1 teaspoonful of vinegar and the amount of red pepper that the point of a knife will hold. Place the mixture on the fire, and when the mass begins to boil, put a wooden cover over the pan. Continue the boiling for several minutes, thoroughly steam down the side of the pan. By steaming down the side of the pan is meant confining the steam which rises from cooking so that it will free the sides of the pan from the accumulation of the mass that is cooking. Remove the cover, insert a thermometer, and cook the mass to 335 degrees. Thereupon stir in 1 tablespoon of butter, remove the mass from the fire, add 1 teaspoonful of salt, and baking soda the size of a large pea. For preserving, pack the tablets in tin boxes. For those who do not like so much red pepper, the quantity may be regulated to suit. The amount of onion used may also be decreased or diminished as the taste of the candy maker dictates. Decorative candies. 1. From potato paste. Now that the use of vegetable bases is reduced to principles, the amateur confectioner need have no difficulty in working out in candy attractive and novel designs suitable to all special days and uses. And the best of it is, thanks to such a humble vegetable as a potato, she can follow her own ideas and fashion in confectionery a pattern that is all her own. Moreover, she can take comfort in the thought that in her product there is none of the highly injurious ingredients, unfortunately all too common in some decorative candies. As the foundation for one sort of decorative confectionery, potato paste must be made. Steam or boil Irish potatoes, drain them, and force them through a fine sieve, the finer the better. With 1/2 cupful of Irish potato, so prepared, mix 1 tablespoonful of cornstarch. Gradually and carefully work in enough confectioner's sugar so that the mixture can be rolled. The imagination of the candy maker will suggest special designs for special occasions. The fancy of the confectioner will suggest many attractive original forms. Besides the traditional red and white hearts for St. Valentine's Day, the green shamrock for March 17th, and the hatchet for Washington's birthday, Christmas, New Year's, Easter, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Halloween, and innumerable local holidays like Bunker Hill Day and Patriots' Day of Massachusetts. All of these special occasions offer abundant opportunity to the candy maker who realizes that from the paste can be made representations of anything from a firecracker to a regiment of soldiers. Cookie cutters may also be used indefinitely. What child would not like candy in the form of stars, dogs, horses, and trees?